My brothers and sisters, let me ask you a question. What's the one thing standing between you and the life you were created to live? It's not your job. It's not your bank account. It's not even your circumstances. The one thing standing between you and your destiny is your mindset. See, the battle for your future doesn't happen out there. It happens in here. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. If you can learn to master your mindset, you can master your life. Your mindset is the thermostat of your life. It doesn't matter how much potential you have, how many resources surround you, or how big your dreams are. If the thermostat of your mind is set too low, your life will always adjust back to that level. You could have moments where circumstances temporarily push you higher, like a sudden opportunity, a big promotion, or a lucky break. But if your internal setting is still stuck on average, you'll subconsciously sabotage, delay, or resist until you're back at that comfortable but limiting level. Think about a thermostat in a room. If the temperature starts to rise above the setting, the cooling system kicks in to bring it down. If the temperature drops too low, the heat turns on to bring it back up. It doesn't matter what's happening outside: snow, heat waves, storms. The thermostat regulates the environment to match its setting. That's exactly how your mindset works. Your inner beliefs, thoughts, and expectations regulate your external results. Most people never realize this. They think their circumstances are controlling their lives. They think they're stuck because of their boss, their spouse, the economy, or their past. But those are just the outside temperatures. The real issue is the inner thermostat. You can change jobs, move cities, win the lottery, or meet new people. But unless you raise your mental setting, you'll keep finding yourself back at the same emotional, financial, and relational level. There are people who were born in poverty, but became millionaires because they shifted their mindset higher. And there are people who were handed wealth, but lost it all because their mindset was set too low to maintain it. That's why the first step to building an unstoppable life isn't doing more, it's thinking higher. You have to upgrade your mental operating system so your life can sustain higher levels of success, joy, and fulfillment. Your mindset is not just how you think about yourself, it's how you think about life itself. Do you see abundance or do you see scarcity? Do you see challenges as opportunities to grow, or do you see them as reasons to quit? Do you believe that you're equipped for greatness, or are you convinced that you're destined to stay stuck? The answers to these questions reveal your thermostat setting. Here's the dangerous part. Your mindset can be set unconsciously. From the moment you were born, you've been programmed by your environment, your family, teachers, culture, and experiences. If you grew up hearing things like money doesn't grow on trees, don't get your hopes up, or people like us don't do things like that, those ideas probably shaped your mental thermostat. Even if you consciously want more out of life, those old programs will keep pulling you back unless you intentionally reset them. The good news is that you are not stuck with the setting you have today. Just like you can walk over to the thermostat on the wall and turn the dial, you can take charge of your mindset and adjust it to match the life you want. This isn't about pretending or wishing. It's about rewiring your thought patterns and aligning them with your highest potential. When you set your mind on success, abundance, and purpose, your thoughts, emotions, and actions begin to harmonize with that setting. And just like the thermostat in your house, everything around you starts to shift to match it. Raising your mindset requires awareness and discipline. It's about catching those limiting thoughts that tell you this is too hard, I'm not good enough, or things never work out for me, and replacing them with empowering truths. It's about refusing to let your history determine your destiny. It's about training yourself to expect more, believe more, and take action as if success is inevitable. Everything begins with a decision, not with wishing, not with hoping, not with waiting for the perfect time or for someone else to give you permission. The trajectory of your entire life shifts the moment you make a real decision. Most people think they've decided, but what they've really done is entertained the idea of change. Entertaining the idea is not the same as committing to it. Entertaining says, it would be nice if this happened. A decision says, this will happen, and I will not settle for anything less. That level of clarity and resolve is rare, because it requires you to burn the bridges to your old way of thinking and living. Every break through you're waiting for is standing on the other side of a decision. If you want to change your finances, your health, your relationships, or your impact, you don't need more time, you don't need more resources, you don't even need more opportunities. You need to decide that you are no longer available for the version of life that has kept you stuck. Until you make that decision, you will keep negotiating with your doubts, your fears, and your excuses. You'll keep circling the same mountain, waiting for circumstances to change instead of realizing that the power to change has been in your hands all along. When you truly decide, your mind stops looking for ways out and starts looking for ways through. Indecision breeds confusion. It leaves you double-minded and unstable. One day you're moving forward, the next day you're shrinking back. But a decision creates focus. It aligns your thoughts, emotions, and actions with your desired outcome. Suddenly, you stop asking disempowering questions like, what if it doesn't work? And you start asking, what must I do to make it work? That shift alone can create momentum you didn't know was possible. Think about the times in your life when you truly decided on something. Maybe you decided to learn a new skill, start a business, or walk away from something that no longer served you. Once you made the decision, even if you didn't have all the answers, you felt a surge of clarity and energy. That's because decision activates your mind's creative power. It opens your eyes to opportunities and resources that were invisible when you were still wavering. The problem is most people don't really decide because they're afraid of failure. They don't want to risk being disappointed, so they stay in the safety of indecision. But here's the truth. Indecision is the most dangerous decision of all because it keeps you stuck in a loop of hesitation and regret. It gives fear more time to grow, and it convinces you that you're powerless when you're not. Every successful person you admire decided long before the evidence showed up. They decided they were going to win. They decided they were going to overcome. They decided they were going to keep moving no matter what came against them. They didn't wait for circumstances to agree with them. They didn't wait for their feelings to catch up. They chose their future and then acted like it was already done. That's the kind of decision you need if you want to master your mindset. It's not a half-hearted maybe. It's not an I'll try. It's an unshakable I will. That decision must come from a place deep inside you that knows you were created for more. Once you make it, everything changes. The way you think changes. The way you speak changes. The way you show up every single day changes. Decisions create identity, and identity determines destiny. When you decide, you take your power back. You stop being a victim of circumstances and step into the role of creator in your own life. You stop allowing fear to dictate your pace. You stop shrinking your dreams to fit your current reality and start expanding your reality to fit your dreams. A decision doesn't eliminate challenges, but it gives you the strength to face them. It doesn't remove uncertainty, but it gives you the courage to move forward anyway. What you feed your mind determines what you live out in your reality. Your mind is like fertile soil. It does not care what you plant in it. It will return to you whatever seeds you sow. If you plant seeds of doubt, fear, and negativity, don't be surprised when your life produces anxiety, procrastination, and failure. If you plant seeds of belief, gratitude, and abundance, your life will begin to reflect success, confidence, and growth. The soil of your mind is always working. The question is, are you planting intentionally, or are you letting weeds grow unchecked? Most people don't realize how much junk they allow into their mental garden every single day. They scroll through social media, comparing themselves to highlight reels. They listen to people who complain, gossip, and reinforce limiting beliefs. They replay their past mistakes and rehearse conversations that keep them stuck in cycles of shame or regret. Every thought, every word, every image you dwell on is a seed. Over time, those seeds take root and become the dominant patterns of your life. If you want to change the fruit, you must first change the root. You cannot live a life of excellence while feeding your mind mediocrity. You cannot expect to rise higher if your daily diet consists of fear, base news, negative conversations, and toxic entertainment. Your mind was designed to grow whatever it consumes. If you are not intentional about feeding it truth, inspiration, and wisdom, the world will feed it fear, doubt, and limitation. This is why you have to take responsibility for programming your own thoughts. You cannot leave it to chance. The moment you start feeding your mind with empowering ideas, you activate a different level of creativity and problem solving. Your subconscious begins to align with success instead of sabotage. Instead of focusing on what's missing, you start seeing opportunities and solutions you overlooked before. Instead of asking, why me, you start asking, how can I? That shift alone can alter the course of your entire life because what you focus on expands. It's not enough to read one good book or listen to one inspiring message and expect lasting change. You have to make it a daily habit to feed your mind the way you feed your body. You wouldn't eat a single healthy meal and assume you're fit for life. In the same way, your mindset needs constant nourishment. Affirmations, meditation, prayer, journaling, and surrounding yourself with people who think bigger than you. These are all ways to fertilize the soil of your mind. Be careful about the words you speak to yourself because your mind is always listening. Every time you say, I'm not good at this, or I'll never be successful, you are planting seeds that grow into self-sabotaging behaviors. Words have creative power. Speak life even when you don't see results yet. Declare abundance even if your circumstances haven't caught up. Over time, those declarations become beliefs, and those beliefs shape your reality. The people you spend time with are also part of your mental diet. If you surround yourself with small thinkers, you'll shrink your vision to fit their comfort zone. If you align yourself with people who stretch, challenge, and inspire you, you'll begin to think and act on a higher level. Energy is contagious, and if you're not careful, you can catch someone else's fear or someone else's mediocrity. Protect your mind as if your future depends on it, because it does. Reprogramming your thinking is not a one-time event. It's a lifelong process. Every day, you have to choose to reject thoughts that pull you down and replace them with thoughts that lift you up. You have to interrupt the old patterns that say, this is just the way I am, and replace them with new patterns that say, this is who I'm becoming. Faith without works is dead, and thinking alone will not transform your life unless it is followed by action that aligns with your future. You can sit for hours imagining success, visualizing abundance, and writing down lofty goals, but if your daily habits and decisions contradict the life you say you want, nothing will change. The mind is powerful, but its power is only activated when you move in the direction of your thoughts. Action is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, between what you believe and what you experience. Too many people wait for perfect clarity before they move. They want to see the entire path laid out, every obstacle removed, every question answered, and every risk eliminated before they take the first step. But the truth is, clarity doesn't come from standing still. It comes from movement. When you take action, you create momentum, and momentum unlocks insight and opportunities that were hidden from view when you were stationary. You don't need to have it all figured out to begin. You only need to start where you are and trust that the next step will reveal itself once you move. Every time you act in alignment with your future, you reinforce your new identity. If you see yourself as a leader, you must start behaving like one even before the evidence shows up. If you believe you are called to wealth, you must begin managing the resources you have today with the discipline of someone who already possesses abundance. The way you act is proof to your subconscious mind that you are serious about change. Without action, your mind will default back to old patterns because it has no evidence to support the new beliefs you are trying to build. Taking aligned action is not about doing more for the sake of staying busy. It's about doing the right things consistently, the things that bring you closer to the vision you carry in your heart. Most people confuse motion with progress. They run in circles, chasing distractions, putting out fires, and working on tasks that have little to do with their true goals. Aligned action requires you to pause and ask yourself, is what I'm doing today a reflection of where I want to go, or is it just keeping me comfortable in the same place? It also requires courage because the actions that align with your future often demand that you step outside of your comfort zone. They may require you to make bold decisions, to have uncomfortable conversations, to invest in yourself when it feels risky, or to persist when results are not immediate. Fear will always whisper that it's safer to stay where you are, but safety is the enemy of transformation. You cannot create a new life while clinging to old habits and familiar excuses. Aligned action creates a compounding effect. At first, the steps may feel small and insignificant, like planting seeds in barren ground. You won't see immediate results, and your old mindset will try to convince you to quit. But if you keep moving forward, those seeds will take root and eventually produce a harvest that far exceeds the effort you invested. Every decision you make, every habit you build, and every step you take in alignment with your future is like casting a vote for the person you are becoming. Discipline is what separates wishful thinkers from unstoppable achievers. Discipline says, I will show up and do what is required whether I feel like it or not, because my future is more important than my feelings. When you discipline yourself to take consistent action, you train your mind to follow your vision rather than your emotions. Your emotions may fluctuate, but action grounded in purpose will carry you forward even on days when motivation is nowhere to be found. The mind is prime real estate, and you must guard it with the same intensity you would guard something priceless because your entire life flows from the thoughts you allow to take root. Every idea, every belief, and every word you absorb has the potential to build you up or break you down. Most people are careless with what they allow into their minds. They consume negativity as if it has no consequences, surround themselves with voices that doubt and criticize, and replay past failures until those memories become chains that hold them back. What they don't realize is that their mental environment is shaping their destiny in ways far more powerful than their external circumstances ever could. Your mind is like a fortress, and if you leave the gates wide open, anything can enter. Fear, doubt, worry, and distraction. Once those intruders are inside, They set up camp and begin influencing your emotions, decisions, and habits. Left unchecked, they can dominate your life and keep you stuck in patterns of frustration and regret. Guarding your mind is not optional if you want to live an unstoppable life. It is a daily discipline, a commitment to protecting your inner world so that you can create the external world you desire. Every day, you are bombarded by messages trying to set the temperature of your thoughts. The news cycles feed fear. Social media fuels comparison. Negative people project their limitations onto you. If you're not intentional, those voices will drown out your own and reset your mental thermostat back to mediocrity. Guarding your mind means being vigilant about what you watch, what you listen to, and who you allow to speak into your life. You don't have to engage in every conversation. You don't have to entertain every opinion. You don't have to consume every piece of information that comes your way. The words you speak over yourself are just as critical. Many people sabotage their own success by agreeing with lies about who they are and what they can achieve. They say things like, "I'm just not good with money," or "nothing ever works out for me," or "that's just the way I am." Every time those words are spoken, they reinforce a mindset that keeps them small. Guarding your mind means refusing to let those statements leave your lips. It means catching yourself in the moment and choosing new words that align with your vision instead of your fears. The people you associate with are another layer of protection for your mind. The energy of those around you either lifts you higher or drags you down. Spend too much time with those who complain, gossip, or settle for less, and you will unconsciously absorb their habits. Spend time with those who think big, speak faith, and pursue excellence, and their mindset will sharpen yours. You don't have to cut everyone out of your life, but you do need to set boundaries that keep toxic influences from infecting your thoughts. Guarding your mind is not about living in denial or avoiding challenges. It's about choosing the perspective you will carry into every situation. Challenges are inevitable, but whether you see them as obstacles or opportunities depends on the strength of your mental defenses. When your mind is unguarded, every difficulty feels like proof that you're not enough. When your mind is fortified, difficulties become training grounds that prepare you for the next level. This is not a one-time effort, but a lifelong commitment. You cannot guard your mind on Monday and neglect it the rest of the week. Just as you lock your doors every night without question, you must establish daily habits that keep your thoughts aligned with truth, hope, and purpose. Meditation, prayer, gratitude, and intentional focus act like sentries standing watch over the gates of your mind. Obstacles are not the end of the road, they are part of the process. Every challenge you face carries within it the seed of growth, the opportunity to develop the strength and wisdom needed for your next level. Most people see obstacles as walls designed to stop them, but those walls were never meant to block you. They were meant to reveal to you how powerful you really are. The difference between those who succeed and those who give up is not the size of the obstacle, but the perspective they bring to it. If you train your mind to see resistance as a sign to grow instead of a reason to quit, every setback becomes a stepping stone, and every delay becomes preparation for something greater. Life will always present friction. No one escapes the pressure of adversity, but how you respond to it determines whether you get crushed under its weight or rise because of it. When you embrace obstacles as fuel, you turn what was meant to drain you into the very thing that drives you forward. Fire can destroy, but it can also refine. Pressure can break, but it can also produce diamonds. It's not about what happens to you. It's about how you choose to use it. Most people underestimate the power of reframing. They allow their first reaction to become their final story. When a challenge shows up, they immediately say, "This is too hard. This isn't fair. Maybe this means I'm not supposed to do this." That mindset turns every difficulty into a dead end. But those who reframe challenges ask different questions. They ask, "What is this teaching me? How can this grow me? What skills, disciplines, or insights will I gain by pushing through this?" That shift changes everything because it transforms pain into purpose and struggle into strategy. Obstacles have a way of revealing hidden weaknesses that would have remained invisible in times of ease. They expose the places where you've been relying on comfort instead of character. They test your commitment to the vision you say you want. Everyone is enthusiastic at the beginning of a journey when motivation is high and the path seems clear, but motivation fades when resistance shows up. At that point, it's not talent, luck, or inspiration that carries you forward. It's grit, discipline, and an unshakable decision to keep moving no matter what. When you face an obstacle, you are given a choice. You can shrink back into the familiar and remain in the cycle you've always known, or you can lean into the resistance and grow into the person you were designed to become. The obstacle is not in the way. It is the way. It forces you to dig deeper, to think smarter, to act bolder. Without resistance, there is no progress. Without challenge, there is no change. Think of a muscle in the gym. Growth only happens when it is placed under stress, when it is pushed beyond its comfort zone. In the moment, that stress feels like pain, but it is actually breaking down the old in order to build up the new. The same principle applies to your mindset, your relationships, your business, and your purpose. Every obstacle you overcome develops capacity within you to handle greater opportunities and responsibilities in the future. The key is to stop asking for life to get easier and start asking to become stronger. Stop praying for smaller problems and start preparing for greater resilience. The storms you're facing today are not random. They are shaping you for the future you've been asking for. You cannot have the crown without carrying the cross. You cannot stand on the mountain without first climbing it. Obstacles are the training ground for your greatness, and the faster you embrace them, the faster you grow into the version of yourself that is unstoppable.